Hello, avid readers, book nerds, and casual observers, and welcome to the Read Along brought to you by the Lit Round Table. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Anna, and today we're talking about The Light of the Midnight Stars by Rena Rossner.
So, welcome everyone to part 11 of our Light of the Midnight Stars read along.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm dandy. Just dandy.
Good.
So first we've got our epigraph.
Yes, and what an epigraph!
What a twist!
Yes.
I'm glad I'm reading these epigraphs because that was, we would have figured it out eventually, but that was good information to have.
Yeah. So I'll admit that I can't remember if we heard about Princess Theodora previously, or if this is the first time we're really hearing about her by name. But my initial instinct was, when I was reading about Princess Theodora here, was, oh my gosh, the king has a son named Theodore and a daughter named Theodora. That's really dumb. Why would they do that? But it doesn't take long to learn in this epigraph that Theodora likes to do what the dudes do and be her own person, independent, go out hunting and riding, and doesn't like to be tied down by, society's standard for women.
Yep.
So she goes out and she hunts with a bunch of men, and she goes by Princess Theodore. So when that was revealed, I was like, wait a minute, have I just been misreading everything up until this point? So I had to go back and do like a pronoun check, and no, this is a reveal, because they've just been referring to her as him and Prince Theodore.
So it was for sure a reveal that Prince Theodore is actually Princess Theodora. And what else was revealed?
She is falling in love with Stannah.
She's falling. She is falling for Stannah. Which, that seems pretty on brand for her.
So far everything we've read would suggest that has already happened.
Yeah. We knew that Theodore was falling for Stannah, but now that it's Theodora, it's like, oh, okay. Good information.
Yes.
I guess we'll find out later on how Stannah will react to that news.
Right. Not in this part, but in the next part. So hang tight.
So that'll be part 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first we have a Stannah chapter, which was a pretty lengthy one.
It really was. A lot happens.
Again, with the reveals, there's so much stuff that happens in this chapter too. Basically, they're still out. They just like hang out in the forest now. That's just like the place to be, right?
Well, when she's not helping Papa, because she does help him out in the fields a fair bit, and that was kind of interesting to like see how he's treating her. Like how she always wanted to be treated now that their world has been turned upside down. But she also mentions that she misses who her father used to be, because he seems to be kind of like a shell of himself, and that makes her sad. So, but otherwise, yes, they spend a lot of time out.
He's not the same.
No, not at all.
Yes, that's where most of the story takes place with the girls right now. Anyway, is when they're hanging out in the forest with their boys now, because they've each got one now.
Yes.
So there's Stannah and Theodore, and they're hanging out, and basically Stannah it's like she's also falling for, I'm just going to refer to them as Theodore for now, because the reveal like for Stannah hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So I'm just going to refer to Theodora as Theodore for this.
Right.
Like you can tell that she is definitely, I think at this point she is falling for Theodore, but she's mad about it and guilty about it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of this chapter is her just feeling guilty about and thinking a lot about Gabriel and what this would mean or how this would be different if he was present and how much she still misses him and is she doing the right thing and, you know,
Because not a
all
ton of
valid
time.
concerns.
Yeah. Not a ton of time has passed since they got here.
It's been months, but not many months. It's been a few months, I believe.
Yeah. So like just a few months ago, she had taken a vow of chastity, and that she would,
She did. I forgot about that.
that she would never, yeah,
I,
and that she would never use her powers again, ever. And so there's a lot going on right now for her. There's very tumultuous. Yeah, she's getting really frustrated with herself, and that I think that's starting to show when Theodore is like leading her through the forest, and she's like, "Don't touch me," and she's getting really cagey, and she's getting really frustrated. But this is kind of like a trigger for her. She like starts glowing.
yeah, so Theodora invites her like away from the group. And she has this internal struggle of like, do I go, do I not go? And then she decides to go. And I do want to just say that like Theodore is not touching her in any way that's like inappropriate. He like touched her hand. Like it's nothing like nothing like creepy or gross. But it is triggering for her for sure. Because my first thought was like, well, I know that Theodore is actually Theodora, so you're probably going to be fine riding away with him. But also like this is dumb girl business.
Yeah.
This should not be happening.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, but so they've all three of them have split off into their own area with their own boy for this whole sister cycle thing.
Yes.
So it is Theodore and Stannah. Again, he leads her away. She's having all these thoughts. She's feeling guilty and angry, and she starts to lash out. And what happens when Stannah gets angry?
She can't she is controlling her magic, but she like starts to like just exude magic. And I made a note of this too because she's feeling very vulnerable and defenseless when she's alone with Theodore. And then she realizes that she's not actually defenseless, and she's never actually defenseless because she has this incredible power. And then she starts to like become a fiery serpent in front of him.
She turns into a glowing fire snake.
Yeah, but not like.
And Theodore is very like not shocked.
No, Theodore handles it like very chill. He's like enamored and wow, you're really beautiful. This is amazing. But he's not bothered at all by it. And then he does something equally surprising. And he also transforms into an owl.
That's the part where I was like, wait, what?
I know. I was like,
what?
Hold on.
Okay, so Theodore is actually Theodora, a girl, and not only that, but Theodora can also turn into animals?
Right.
Are you kidding me right now? What the heck?
Yeah. Which, there's another reveal about that in a little bit. But she, like, explains that, his family has these, like, powers in their blood, and it's passed down, and, but, like...
There's, like,
their religion is...
a word for it.
Yeah, I can't think of what that word was now. But, and this is part of what motivated the king to make sure that their country had religious freedom, essentially.
Okay, so Theodore says, "There are remnants of the wisdom of the old gods that still walk among us. My father is not Basarab. He was someone else, something else entirely. He was a smoke walker. Perhaps something a bit like you. He converted to Christianity, but he never forgot the old gods. Some say their blood ran in his veins. Few speak of them any more, but my father was known to take to the skies in various forms. There is much of the world that we don't understand.
Yes. So, it's like no
There's a
matter
lot that
where
I
they
don't
go.
understand now.
I know, same. It's like no matter where they go, like this is like a part of, I mean, it's a part of them, obviously, but like they're running into it in other places, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
He also is this when Theodore also mentions that? Yeah, he does. He says that he can turn into more than just an owl.
yeah, he can turn into anything
he can turn into whatever he wants.
which is different
Yeah.
than what
He does say
Stannah
that
can
some
do.
forms are more difficult than others.
So that's interesting. And then things start to make sense for us, the reader, even though Stannah still has no idea that Theodora is Theodora. But I'm like, oh, okay, so this is how she's pulling it off, is she can make herself look like whatever she wants. And then Stannah feels almost beholden to Theodore. And so she, since he's revealed this thing about himself and his family, she tells him their whole story. Everything about, except for their names. She doesn't reveal their names.
Yeah.
And gives kind of the same kind of way that they have told their story before, with like allusions and like some details,
kind of like how
other details.
told. Yeah, kind of like how Leptitsa told the story about Starman.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
enough to get the gist of what happened, but like leaving out some details. But yeah.
Yeah. So, very interesting. But no reveal as to Theodora yet. So.
No, not yet. Although Theodore is very much like, let me help you heal. Like let's just try to help each other. Like we can both do this thing that's crazy. Let's keep seeing each other. Let me try to help you. And then Stannah says, "Okay, let's try." And yeah, that's kind of where we leave off with that. But
yeah,
what a crazy hunk of pages there. There's a lot lot to unpack.
Yes. But it's so interesting and it's so good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're only like halfway through because I have so many questions.
Yeah. There's a lot of room yet in the book for answers to be, or for questions to be answered. So yeah. So next is Anna, right? And her boy's name is Constantine.
Yes. Yep. And there's just lots of being flirty and vulnerable with Constantine.
Very vulnerable. They're both very vulnerable.
They do end up being very vulnerable, yes. And she's being flirty, but she feels like it's an act. Like she's not, she's very obviously very conflicted because of everything that just happened with Jacob not that long ago. And she like kind of tries to scare him off by being like, well, this is what I want for my future. And she's like, I want a lot of kids and I want them to be like the olive tree with deep roots. And I want like all this stuff, like trying to scare him away with commitment. And it totally backlashes. And he's like, that's what I want.
And like his eyes were closed and she was like, oh, sorry, you must not like these aren't things that girls are supposed to say to boys. You must not like that. And he's like, no, I was just picturing it in my mind and it sounds like heaven.
Yeah. And it was like, oh.
Like, yeah. Constantine he's a good egg.
He is.
I like Constantine.
I do too. He's like moving up on my list of favorite characters. He's very sweet. For
sure.
And then it's revealed that he has his own like trauma.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you share his trauma if you want, or I can.
Sure. So, he also. So, does she share her trauma first, or is he first? Who goes first? I feel like she goes first.
I don't remember now.
I think she is first. So she does.
Yeah.
She does. They all kind of tell their story to their boys, except for I don't think Leptitsa does. No, no, she
does
doesn't.
not.
She tells a weird story about a fox, but we'll get there. So yeah, Anna does share similarly to how Stannah did. She does share her tragic backstory with Constantine. Talks about Jakob
But
and
not by
how.
name though, right?
Not by name, but just we know who it is. It's Jakob. Well, says that she loved someone else, and that no, she did. Well, I don't know if she said his name, but she said that he was the son of
The
the
Duchess.
Duchess of the place they were in. Like she drops the name of the town, so like
Yeah.
it'd be fairly easy to like investigate that and figure out like who exactly it was. And
Right.
she does say that we waited 2 years to be together. And then once we were finally together, we had one night together, and then he was burned at the stake for treason the next day, and then we had to flee and run away and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then as she's telling the story, he's listening, and you can kind of tell that he's taking it to heart. And then he also shares his trauma, which is that he was also in love with someone else before. Her name was Sophia, and she was actually pregnant with their child, and they were engaged to be married. But while he was off fighting in some battle, because he's a commander in the military, he was off fighting some battle, and while he was away, the enemy, I forget who they were, what they were called, but the enemy went to his town and just wiped the town out and killed everyone, his whole family, including Sophia.
Yeah.
And so he is also dealing with this tragic loss of this person whom like there was so much potential for their future, and then it just gets snuffed out.
Yeah.
Like it was nothing.
Right.
And so they're both dealing with that. And so they've both got a shared trauma. There's obviously a mutual attraction. It's like at this point while I'm reading, I was just like, okay, they're going to end up together in some way. Like in some way, shape, or form. It's going to happen. Because it's just... It seems like in real life, too, that people that have that kind of traumatic experience kind of find each other somehow. And, like, they help each other. They help each other recover and grow and heal. And I think that's what's happening here. And I think that's really good. And I'm happy for Anna.
Yes.
It's just going to... I know it's a big step to open up and kind of accept that help and that healing. But
she says something funny like... something like, was I always destined to love Jacob and an angel? Like, because she is thinking of Constantine as being kind of angelic because he's being so sweet and kind about everything that she has gone through and very understanding. And then he kisses her, and it's very different from how she and Jacob kissed. And she's just like ruminating on how it's so different, but it's so nice, and it was sweet.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
So, that's Anna. Lots of romantic developments going on.
So much.
And then we move on to Leptitsa.
Our weird little star girl just keeps on being weird.
Yeah. She is so weird, dude.
I know.
So
I love her, but I am so confused by her.
I feel bad for the boy that's been assigned to her. So her boy's name is Nikolai.
Oh, I have Nicholas written down.
That's how they...
Interesting.
I think they say Nikolai in the audiobook.
Interesting.
But like I listened to the first half in audio and I read the second half, and so I knew in the book it's spelled Nicholas. But this is me telling you, in the audiobook they say Nikolai. You can say whatever you want.
That's
I don't
fine.
care. But
It's just like I know they say Jakob, but I feel weird doing that.
That's fine.
Anyway. Yeah, so she's with Nicholas, and they're down by the stream.
Down by the banks of the hanky-panky. where the bullfrogs jump from bank to bank.
I have literally never thought about how that's down by the banks of the hanky panky until right now. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes it sound weird, doesn't it?
It does. Huh. Anyway. So they're talking, and she's talking. He asks her, he's very awkward, and of course she's really weird, but he's like trying to learn things about her and have small talk, and he asks her about her hobbies or what she does when she's not like so busy. And in classic Laptitsa form, she's like, I really like the stars. I do appreciate how she doesn't
Go
like,
figure.
she's unapologetic about the things that she likes. And that she's into. I appreciate that about her a lot.
She could branch out, though.
She could. But I appreciate that she's unapologetic about it. And he's like, oh my gosh, you should come to the palace because we have this, he calls it something else, but it's basically they have a telescope in like a tower. And you should come.
It's like an observatory. Yeah.
And like you can look at the stars through the telescope and it's like you're right there next to them. And of course, she is like, yes, I will do this thing. So they make plans to meet at night. Because
she's like, I will sneak out of my house. What time?
It has to be late because my parents can't know.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll come and get you, I guess. Yeah, later tonight.
Where should we meet? She goes, we'll meet right here. And they do.
There you go. They do. They meet. They go to the observatory.
I just want to say again, I am so glad that these men up until this point have been like on the up and up and not despicable.
Yeah.
I'm really appreciating that. Because
lots of opportunities for them to be despicable.
I know. I've been very worried about these three girls because they make bad choices with strangers. But
granted, they shouldn't have a reason to feel unsafe. Like it's dumb that that's a conversation that needs to be had. However, especially the time period this is written in. Yes, it does make me nervous sometimes, but they've all been fine.
Yeah, so I'm
and Theodore's a girl,
which doesn't mean that.
Not saying that women can't have ulterior motives, but yeah. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yes,
y'all know what we mean. So
yes. But so she meets him. They go to the observatory. They're looking at the sky, and she sees her star. And she sees his face, and he looks upset, and then he starts to fall, and she, like, goes crazy. And it's like, we have to get out of here. I have to go back.
Like, I have to go.
And Nikolai is like, what happened? Everything was going really well. What is going on? And so they go to the clearing, and her star isn't there. He didn't wait for her. And she's very distressed. And so she tells Nicholas the story because he's confused about what happened. And she tells him this story about these foxes. And then at the end of it...
A fox that fell in love with a vineyard and ate too many grapes and got too fat to fit through a hole to get into the vineyard and is super weird.
It's very strange. And at the end, he's like, I don't get it. And I felt the same way. I was like, you know what, Nicholas? I know their story and I also don't get it.
And he even says, like, I think you and I want different things in life. Like,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the wording he uses. I want to find that because that was a funny moment. Oh, man.
It's right at the end.
There once was a fox that fell in love. Oh, yeah, he says, it's a nice story, but I don't think I seek the same things you seek.
Yeah. Very true, my dude. You don't even know. Yeah.
So just kind of one of those moments where they both acknowledge, like, no. But Nikolai's if you looked at this from his perspective, I'd be like, this girl is really weird and she's kind of freaking me out.
Totally.
like she's obsessed with the stars, and like she wanted to run off into the woods randomly while looking at the stars, and like, see, if I were Nikolai, I would have been fearing for my own safety. Like, is this girl am I about to be like sacrificed? Is she a witch? Like, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
Then she tells this trippy story about a fox eating grapes in a vineyard.
Yeah, it's real weird.
It's like, you are either a manic pixie dream girl or a witch who's about to kill me. No room in between for anything else.
Except for
So I
Star
was
Lover.
like, I don't think we want the same things.
But he doesn't know that Star Lover is an option.
Right.
So
Yeah, he has no way of knowing that's even on the table.
right.
I like stars.
So much.
Yeah, you really do. Yeah. So that's pretty much where it leaves off there. They just kind of agreed. Oh, he does say, I tell you what, meet me here again tomorrow and I'll tell you a story. And then she's like, she declines, I believe, because in her head she's like, if you're here, Starman won't show up.
Right. Yes. She's like, I can't tomorrow night, maybe some other time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. These kids.
How weird. How weird. So that ends this this section though. Yeah, it was quite the section.
It was. A lot happened.
Quite
It was
the
longer
section.
than our usual sections are. But
Yeah. For sure. But so many revelations, so many twists and turns, more weird Letitza. It was great.
it was. And so many things to come. Speaking of, part 12 is available now. So, head on over.
Go listen. Go!
We'll see you there.
Do it! Okay. We'll see you over there. But until then, happy reading.
And we'll talk at you next time.
Later.
Bye.